Good morning, class. Hello, everybody. Today we are going to start with symmetric encryption techniques. We've already discussed as to what is symmetric encryption technique in earlier videos, wherein we talked about symmetric encryption as well as asymmetric encryption, the difference between the two. We got to know that symmetric encryption is also called as conventional encryption technique too. Symmetric encryption is called as symmetric because it uses the same key, same shared secret key for both encryption and decryption. The key that is used for encryption is also used for decryption. In other words, we can say that the encryption and decryption both uses the same key, and that is why it is called as symmetric encryption. Wherein when we talk about asymmetric encryption means for both decryption and encryption, different keys are used. And we'll be discussing about asymmetric encryption in later on in other videos. Today we are going to start with symmetric encryption technique. Now, symmetric encryption technique can be further subdivided into substitution technique and transposition technique. Now, to be more elaborate, what do you mean by substitution technique? Substitution technique, in the simple words, substitution technique means you can replace the letters, you can replace the plain letters by other letters, or by other numbers, or by other symbols, or by other characters. That is called as substitution technique. Talking about what is transposition technique. Now, when you talk about transposition technique means we're going to transpose the plain text, whereas in substitution technique we're going to substitute the plain text. Transposition means you're going to rearrange the plain text. And substitution technique means you're going to substitute one letter, one plain text by the other. The other could be anything. The other could be the number or the plain text or the special characters. Whereas transposition is just the rearranging. You just scramble the letters, the plain text, to form some other ciphertext. That is called as transposition technique. Moving ahead as to what is substitution technique. If you have to discuss what is substitution technique in a more regularized or in a more standard manner, substitution technique is one in which the letter of plain text are replaced by other letters or by numbers or by symbols. Substitution techniques can be of number of types. We'll be discussing Caesar cipher in the coming videos, monoalphabetic cipher, polyalphabetic cipher, Wigner cipher, Playfair cipher, Hill cipher, and there's one more called as one-time padding cipher. Now, to start with Caesar cipher, we'll be discussing what is Caesar cipher. Yes, Caesar cipher. Now, the word Caesar cipher has come from the era of Caesar, Julius Caesar. All of us know about Julius Caesar. Now, Julius Caesar, in the times of Julius Caesar, the communication that was held between the two emperors, held between two kings, was in the form of Caesar cipher technique. They did not send their secret messages into plain text. They converted them into cipher text, and the technique for converting plain text into cipher text was Caesar cipher. That was called as Caesar cipher, and the idea of Caesar cipher has come from the era of Julius Caesar. So the earliest known use of substitution cipher, or the simplest, was by the Julius Caesar. The Caesar cipher involves replacing each letter of alphabet with the letter standing 3 places further down the alphabet. Now, what do you mean by 3 places down the alphabet? Now when we talk about 3 places down the alphabet, it means we're going to use key as 3. So Caesar cipher is going to use key, which is going to be equivalent to 3. What do you mean by key 3? Now key 3 means you're going to substitute each letter by using key 3. That is encryption and decryption. Both the algos will be using key as 3. Now let's understand the meaning of key as 3. See, here are the replacements of letters. Try and understand how we'll be using key is equal to 3. For suppose we have a plain text A to be replaced. For suppose we have a plain text A to be replaced by a ciphertext, and the key is 3. We know that the key is 3. What we will be doing is we will be adding 0 plus 3. Now 0 plus 3 will give me what? 0 plus 3 will give me what? Will give me D. I hope you understand. See, the value, if I want to convert A into ciphertext, what I'll be doing is I'll be using the number value of A, which is 0, and I'll be adding the key value to it, which is 3, which will be giving me a number that is 3, and we'll be finding out the alphabetical value of 3. What is the alphabetical value of 3? Which is D. Therefore, the replacement of A will be D. Therefore, the replacement of plain text A will be ciphertext D. I hope you can understand. We've also discussed this in brief in earlier video too. I'm repeating this. Okay. So the plain text, I am going to take up a plain text, which is meet me after the party. Now this is the plain text. This is the plain text. This is the secret message that I want to communicate to somebody else, and I do not want it to go just in the plain text. I want it to go into a encrypted form, and I'll be using the technique for encryption, that is Caesar cipher. Okay, let's see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to convert each of these plain text into ciphertext. How will I be doing this? Simple. Let's not go into any formula or any standardized way. You just go by the key 3. If I have key 3 and I have the alphabet M, I have to convert the alphabet M into ciphertext. What I'll be doing is I'll be first finding out the numerical value of M. So coming here, the numerical value of M is 12. The numerical value of M is 12. Add 3 to 12. If I add 3 to 12, what will be I getting? If I add 12 plus 3, I'll be getting 15. I'll be getting 15, correct? So what is the alphabetical value for 15? The alphabetical value for 15 is P. Can you see this? The alphabetical value for 15 is P. So therefore, the plain text M will now be getting converted into ciphertext P. Okay, let me take up one more example, E. So please find out the numerical value of E, which is 4. Add 3 to 4. When I add 3 to 4, I'll be getting 7. I'll be getting 7, right? And the alphabetical value of 7 is H. Can you see this? H. So I'll be replacing E by H. Similarly, I have another E, which will be replaced by H. And therefore, all the other plain text can be converted into ciphertext by using key is equal to 3. And how do we use key is equal to 3? We decide the this is the way from A to Z. From A to Z, the number values are decided. You're going to add key is equal to 3 to all the alphabets and then find out the other value. Okay, there would be one question as to if we have y. Now if we have y to convert, see here, if I have a y to convert, how will I convert this? The numerical value of y is 24. Can you see this? And when you add 3 to 24, you'll be getting what? You'll be getting 27. And there is no alphabet regarding 27. We just have the numbers from 0 to 25. So here comes into picture as what is modular arithmetic. Now, when we talk about modular arithmetic is a circular arithmetic. That is, it repeats itself. When I say mod 26, it means from 0 to 25, the values will be repeating itself. After 25, again 0 will come. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Therefore, after Z, again A will come. And therefore, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so on. I hope you can understand. So, when I say Y, the value of Y is 24. And if I say you have to add 3 to it, what will happen? That is 1, 2, and 3. That is the value of Y, ciphertext, will now be converted as plain text will now be converted as ciphertext B. That is called modular arithmetic, and therefore the standard formula comes into picture. See, I've also written down the formula for converting the plain text into simple plain text into ciphertext. I'll be using this formula, and all of us must use this formula. Why do we need to use formula? Because this is not going to be converted just by plain adding. You need to do mod 26 for all the numbers. See, therefore, if I use y, the value of y is what? The value of y is 24. First, let me illustrate this formula. This is the formula for converting the plain text into ciphertext. C here represents the cipher text. E here represents encryption. It says encryption is being done. 3 represents the key value, and P represents the plain text. So, this is the standardized way of representing how do you convert plain text into ciphertext. And what is the formula? The formula says, write down the value of plain text, add 3 to it, and then perform mod 26. Why performing mod 26? Because the values, the alphabetical values are just between 0 to 25. After 25, I need to get again 0. After Z, I need to get again A, B, C, D, and therefore I need to perform mod 26. In simple terms, if I say mod 3, what do I mean? I mean 0, 1, 2. After 2, 0 will repeat. If I say mod 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3, and after 3, 0 will repeat. Therefore, mod 26 means 0 to 25, and after 25, the value of 0 will repeat. And that is what we need. Because all of us know after Z, we need again A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and so on. So, let's use the formula here. Y, the value of Y is 24. So, 24 plus 3 is giving me 27. And when I perform mod 26, all of us know mod 26 means what? Mod 26 means remainder. Mod 26 means remainder. And what will you get? You will get 1 as remainder. If you divide 27 by 26, I hope you can understand. If you divide 27 by 26, the remainder that you're going to get is 1. Yes? The remainder. Remember, when I say 27 mod 26, it is when you divide 27 by 26, what remainder you're going to get? Simple. If you divide 27 by 26, the 1 will be complete here, and what will be left? We'll be left with the remainder as 1. Okay, so the value of 1, this now you'll be getting the remainder as 1, and the value of 1, if you search in the table associated alphabet, you get that as B. So that is the formula for converting plain text into ciphertext. Now when we want to do the reverse, it's not only about encryption, we also need to do decryption. And since we're talking about symmetric methodology, both encryption and decryption are going to use the same key. So see here, P represents the plain text, D represents decryption here, 3 represents the key value, and C represents the ciphertext. And the formula says, what you're going to do, you're going to now minus the 3. Now whatever the value of ciphertext is, you're going to minus 3 from it and then perform mod 26 to it. Simple. Then perform mod 26 to it. Okay, let's take an example. Let's pick up P. Now P is the ciphertext and I want the plain text. P is the ciphertext and I want the plain text regarding the ciphertext P. Okay, so find out the value of P from here. The value of P is 15. 15 minus 3. When you perform 15 minus 3, you will be getting the value as 12. You will be getting the value as 12. And when you perform 12 mod 26, when you perform 12 mod 26, now 12 mod 26 means when you divide 12 by 26, what is the remainder that you're going to get? The remainder is entire 12. Yes, because 12 cannot be divided by 26. Correct? The entire remainder will be 12 here. I hope you understand mod. Mod means when you divide something by something, what is going to be the remainder? So when you divide 12 by 26, when you divide 12 by 26, you're going to have the remainder completely as 12. Why? Because 12 cannot be divided by 26. So entire 12 will be left out. The entire 12 will be what? The entire 12 will be the remainder. So please find out the alphabetical value against the value 12, which is M. Therefore, P is going to have the plain text as M. So this is the entire methodology. This is the entire methodology for Caesar cipher. There's a problem associated to Caesar cipher. The problem is, if it is known that a given ciphertext is Caesar cipher, if someone knows that the ciphertext is actually coming from the technology Caesar cipher, then the brute force script analysis can be easily performed. It can be easily performed. Why? Because we just have 25 possible keys. Why? Because we just have 25 possible keys. I hope you can understand. See, the alphabetical values are from 0 to 25. So key can be ranging from 0 to 25, right? So what do you need to do? You need to perform 25 possible guesses. Guesswork for what is going to be the key. See, understand this. You're going to have simple only the ciphertext, right? You can see this ciphertext. And you need to guess what would be the plain text. What would a hacker do? The hacker would see the ciphertext and would need to guess what would be the plain text. Right? So in that case, what would it guess? It would try to guess what would be the key. What would be the key, right? So he'll be starting from the possible keys. The possible keys could be either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, anything. And by using all these keys, whichever key gives you a relevant meaning is the plain text. Correct? I hope you can understand. So this is that is why we say that for crypt analyst, it is easier to perform a brute force attack on Caesar cipher, because it just needs to guess the 25 possible keys, and that's it. So that is why Caesar cipher is a weak technique for encrypting the plain text, because it can be easily guessed out when we guess the keys. Okay, so moving ahead to the next technology. Which is the monoalphabetic cipher. Now, what do you mean by monoalphabetic cipher? When we talk about monoalphabetic cipher, this is also a substitution technique. We are discussing the substitution techniques. So, monoalphabetic cipher is also a substitution cipher technique. It is also known as simple substitution. Why? Because it relies on fixed replacement. Remember, monoalphabetic cipher technique relies on fixed replacement. What do you mean by fixed replacement? Now, when we talk about fixed replacement means the occurrence of any alphabet. How many ever times the alphabet appears in the plain text? The replacement of the ciphertext will be the same. For example, if I have M in the plain text for 5 times, maybe I'm having M in the plain text for 5 times. The replacement of M will be the same for each of these 5 times. That is called monoalphabetic cipher, and that is why we are calling it as fixed replacement. The occurrence of the alphabet, every occurrence of the alphabet is going to have the same replacement. I hope you can understand. That is why it is called as fixed replacement structure. That is, the substitution is fixed for each letter of the alphabet. Thus, if A is encrypted to R, then every time we see the letter A in the plain text, we'll be replacing it by letter R in the ciphertext. So, for example, I've taken an example here. The plain text is AKANK. You can see that the value of A is appearing 2 times. The value of K is also appearing 2 times. So, and when you see the replacement of A once by E, what do you mean by monoalphabetic ciphertext? It is going to be replaced, the A is going to be replaced by A for all the occurrences. Now, if A occurs anywhere in the other places, it will also be replaced by E. See? Can you see this? Similarly, if K is being replaced by O, all the occurrences of K is now going to be replaced by O. That is called monoalphabetic cipher technique. Now, when you see the fixed replacement structure for monoalphabetic cipher, this is a weak point. When I say fixed replacement structure, this is going to be the weakness of monoalphabetic cipher. Now, what do you mean by weakness? Okay, there's another line of attack. What do you mean by another line of attack? Let me be more precise. If the crypt analyst knows the nature of the plain text, then the analyst can exploit the regularities of the language. What do you mean by regularities of the language? Frequency of the language. Okay, to be more precise, monoalphabetic cipher are easy to break because they reflect the frequency of the data of the original data. Right? For example, you don't know what is plain text. You just know the ciphertext. And if somehow you know that this is a monoalphabetic cipher technique, So you know that for every E, same replacement is going to be there. For every O, same replacement is going to be there. And for every E, V, if there are other V's, we know, we are very sure that the plain text is going to be same for every V occurring in the ciphertext. Now this is the weakness. This is actually giving hackers a way to guess the plain text more easily. Once we get to know that E is being replaced by A, somehow we get to know that E is replaced by A, then every E is going to be replaced by A. Or once we get to know that O is being replaced by K, the plain text for O is K, then every O in the ciphertext is going to be replaced by K, and therefore you guess the plain text more easily, because you get to know the frequency of the plain text. You get to know the repeating alphabets. Frequency of the alphabets means the repeating alphabets in the plain text. I'm sorry. Moving ahead as to what is polyalphabetic cipher. Now, polyalphabetic cipher is just the reverse of monoalphabetic cipher. Monoalphabetic cipher used fixed replacement technique, whereas the polyalphabetic cipher does not uses the fixed replacement structure. That is, for every occurrence of the plain text, repetitive occurrence of the plain text, it is going to have different ciphertext. It's not going to have the same ciphertext. That is called as polyalphabetic cipher. Definitely polyalphabetic cipher is an improvement. Is an improvement over what? Is an improvement over monoalphabetic cipher. It is an improvement over simple monoalphabetic technique idea. Now, the idea is to use the different monoalphabetic substitutions as one proceeds throughout the plain text. This approach is called as polyalphabetic cipher because it does not uses the fixed replacement structure. Now, one of the main problem that was associated to monoalphabetic technique was it was very vulnerable to frequency analysis. It was vulnerable to guessing what would be the plain text. Now, definitely, if you're given a sufficiently large ciphertext, if you have a sufficiently large ciphertext, it will be easy for you to guess the plain text in the case of monoalphabetic cipher, and that disadvantage of monoalphabetic cipher was overcome by polyalphabetic cipher. If you talk about monoalphabetic cipher, it was one-to-one mapping. What do you mean by one-to-one mapping? That is, every time A comes, it will be mapped by E. Whereas polyalphabetic cipher was completely different from one-to-one mapping. Polyalphabetic cipher had one-to-many mapping, which means if A comes in the plain text again, it will be replaced by many alphabets, not just one, which was the case in monoalphabetic cipher. Therefore, polyalphabetic substitution cipher involves the use of two or more cipher alphabets. Instead of there being one-to-one relationship between the letters, it substitutes there to one-to-many relationship between each letter and its substitution, and that is called as polyalphabetic cipher. Now, both monoalphabetic cipher and polyalphabetic cipher can be used as classification. You can classify the different encryption techniques as monoalphabetic or as polyalphabetic. See, why am I not saying what key can be used in monoalphabetic cipher and what key can be used in polyalphabetic cipher? Because both monoalphabetic cipher and polyalphabetic cipher are the ways of generalizing the different encryption techniques. That is, monoalphabetic Caesar's, okay, when I say monoalphabetic cipher, Caesar cipher is the example of monoalphabetic cipher. Caesar cipher is the example of monoalphabetic cipher, right? Every time E occurs, it is going to be replaced by H. See, replaced by H, replaced by H, replaced by H, right? So therefore, Caesar cipher is what? Caesar cipher is a monoalphabetic technique. Okay, so the question that would be coming into your mind is, what is the example for polyalphabetic cipher? I haven't discussed any example for polyalphabetic cipher yet, but the next type of technique that we're going to discuss is a polyalphabetic technique. Wigner cipher. Starting from the Wigner cipher, this is another technology number 4 for substitution cipher technique. Now, Wigner cipher is a polyalphabetic substitution based on Wigner table. So here Wigner table plays a very important role. This entire structure that you can see here is a Wigner table. This is a Wigner table, and Wigner cipher uses this Wigner table along with the key to convert the plain text into ciphertext. Very important. You must always remember, you cannot convert any plain text into ciphertext if you're using Wigner cipher without the Wigner table. Now, before understanding anything, let's first understand what is this Wigner table. Very important to understand what is this Wigner table. Now, this Wigner table, each row in the Wigner table corresponds to shifts. So the row number 1, the first row, has 0 shift. And the row number 2, that is the B row, has the shift as 1. Wherein the row number 3 has the shift as 2. Now, what do you mean by this shift? The shift simple means, how do you form this table? First, see how do you form this table? This table is simple. Anyone can create this table. You do not need to have the table in the exam. Even if the table is not given, you can guess what would be the table. You can create your table, your own table, by writing, first you write ABCD in the row format, and then you write the ABCD in the column format. And for each intersection of A in the first row, there is 0 shift, so there is no shift. You start from ABCD usually. And then in the second row, there's a shift of 1. Since there's a shift of 1, you start from B. And after Z, there will be repetition of A. In the third row, there will be a shift of 2. So you'll be starting from C, and after Z, there will be a repetition of A and B. If you talk about D, similarly, D will start this row, wherein we have the shift of 3. We'll be starting from D. D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. This is what you mean by shift 3. And similarly, the row 4 will have shift 4. And moving ahead, all the rows will be having the further shifts. And the simple idea is, if here E, this is starting from E, we will be knowing that this is going to start from E. If here we have the value F, we're going to start this row from F. If we have the value of G, we're going to start with the value G, and so on. H, I. Okay. So moving ahead, I hope all of you have understood what this Wigner table means. Now, how are you going to convert the plain text using this Wigner table? If you need to convert the plain text into ciphertext in the Wigner cipher, how will we be doing it? See, if you have a question to convert the plain text into ciphertext. In exam, you will be given key. The key will be given in the form of alphabet, in the form of words. For example, here we have the keyword as relations. Here we have the keyword as relations, and you have the plain text as, the given plain text is to be or to. This is the plain text that you have. To be or to. This is your plain text. You need to convert this into ciphertext. क्या करेंगे? What we'll be doing? We'll be writing down the keyword first. Please write down the keyword here. Relations. Okay, let me expand the plain text. To be or to not. This is your plain text. Relations, this is your keyword, and you will be for leftover plain text, you will be again repeating the keyword, that is RE. I hope you can understand. Please have a look. I've chosen the plain text as to be or to not, and what you will be doing is you will be picking up the keyword and writing down the keyword beneath the plain text as like this. And once you finish the keyword, you're going to repeat the keyword again up till the plain text. So I finished the relations keyword till N, and I have two more letters, and beneath them I'm going to repeat the keyword, the letters from the keyword as R and E. Okay, so this is how you're going to write down the plain text and the keyword. This is your keyword. Now, after deciding what is going to be the plain text and the keyword, you will be having a look into the Wigner table. Now, how you will be looking for the Wigner table? We begin by writing the keywords beneath the plain text, and then see the table. If you want to derive the value, if you want to derive the ciphertext, you need to see the table. Now, how do you find out the value? You find out the intersection. You find out the intersection of what? Of the plain text and the keyword. You find out the intersection of the plain text and the keyword. So, for the first word, that is T and R. For the first word T and R, you need to find out the intersecting value. So this is the T value and this is the R value. R. Okay, here. This is the intersecting value. Please write down this so that you can understand. It will start from R. Okay. R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q. Okay, so the intersecting value will be K. The intersecting value for R and T will be K. I hope you can understand this. So, the ciphertext here will be K. Similarly, moving ahead as for O and E, please find out the intersecting value for O and E. O is here and E is somewhere here. This is the intersecting place. E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, Y, Z, A, D. So the intersecting value here will be what? S. Yes? if you need to find out the intersecting value for O and E, it will be S. And the place, some people will be confused where to see the plain text and where to see the key. See, any order, you can see the key here and the plain text here, or you can see the plain text here and the key here. The value will be same. The intersecting value for both plain text and keyword, wherever if you place the keyword here and you place the plain text here, the intersecting value will be the same, or if you place the keyword here and the plain text here, the intersecting value will be the same. So there's no confusion regarding where to keep plain text and where to keep keyword. Okay, so the intersecting value for this O and E is S. And if you want to see for others, for BLN it will be M, for E and A it will be E, for O and T it will be H, for R and I it will be Z, and for so on. This is how you convert the Wigner. This is how you convert the ciphertext, the plain text into ciphertext using the Wigner cipher technology. Let me repeat once. When you're using Wigner cipher technology, you use the Wigner table. You will be given the keyword in the form of word. Whatever is the plain text that you have, please write down that plain text clearly, and beneath that write down your keyword. Once you finish with the keyword and you're still left with the plain text, please repeat the keyword. Please repeat the letters of the keyword again. Now, for converting the plain text into ciphertext, look for Wigner table. Pick up the two values, that is the plain text and the keyword T and R, and find out the intersecting value for T and R. For T and R, the intersecting value that we found out is K, and we've written that. That is ciphertext for T. For O and E, find out the intersecting value. For O and E, we found out the intersecting value to be S, and that is the ciphertext. And this is how you're going to convert. Thank you, class. In the next videos, we'll be discussing some more technologies, some more techniques that we are left with substitution. Thank you so much.